Welcome one and all to another edition of the Defo Show with Lubie here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, brought to you by Water Cleanup of Florida. Yes, the weather has started to turn. The heat, the humidity is way up. We already had one storm sort of venture our way, so the season of storms is upon us, and that's not always a great thing for our homes. But Water Cleanup of Florida will make it nice and easy for you just in case some issue does pop up, whether it's water, fire, mold, and your home. Again, as I've said this each and every day, with over 60 years of combined experience between Michael, Robert, and their team, you're going to get quality work. Plus, the fact that they have licensed contractors on staff means they can not only assess the situation, but they can fix it. You don't have to go to two places. You can go to one place to get everything done. Again, making it nice and easy for you. On top of that, you can reach them 24/7 because we know weird things with our houses don't just pop up on our schedule. They pop up on the weirdest times, at the weirdest days, and it's always inconvenient. But Water Cleanup of Florida will come out, assess it, take care of it, and you can reach them 24/7 to set up that appointment. Just give them a call, 954-579-0356, 954-579-0356, or visit them at their website, WCUFL.com, WCUFL.com. Also follow on the socials, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Water Cleanup FL. Water Cleanup of Florida. We clean up your schmutz. It seems like the schmutz is clearing away from the last few years with the Miami Dolphins. We had the Brian Flores accusations that are still being, I guess, investigated. To some extent, the NFL supposedly found nothing, but more and more has come out with that. So we'll see whatever that brings. It is the Mike McDaniel era, as he was hired from the San Francisco 49ers, guy that is young now, but still been in football for like 15 years, the NFL for over a decade. So it's interesting. Before the McDaniel hire, there supposedly was a lot of weird things in the works, even when Brian Flores was still the Dolphins head coach to when Brian Flores was fired as Dolphins head coach. A lot of those rumors that are coming out lately, Brady and Payton. Payton was offered some ridiculous, Sean Payton, former New Orleans Saints head coach, was offered some ridiculous deal to become the Miami Dolphins head coach. Defo and I talked about that today. Also, I talk a little bit about the rumors with the Miami Heat. Yes, the offseason really isn't here yet, as the NBA Finals is still going on. But Pat Riley had his big postseason press conference, his end-of-the-year wrap-up, and he talked about how he named names and how guys could get better and what their issues are. Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, Kyle Lowry, getting Jimmy Butler help. He said, of course, we're always open to adding to the team, which, again, yeah, if the right move is out there, what will happen? So we talk about that today, as well as rumors still bubble around the Miami Heat. Today on the Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
The story came out about, and I guess has it been confirmed or whatever? I mean, somebody is, writing again about this whole notion that the Dolphins tried to waive like $100 million to Sean Payton.
Oof.
Before they hired this Mike McDaniel guy, which they played off as if, we were looking for this innovative guy all along. And Sean Payton said, if he was going to come back and coach, it would only be with the Saints. A little bit of loyalty there on the part of Sean Payton, who is going to be, I think, in the broadcast booth.
He's doing broadcasting
this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, to the tune of a lot of money also, no doubt. But, and Payton leaving the Saints, he said he left, because he wanted to have a little bit of time and everything. He's been doing this a long time. Doesn't take supposedly $100 million, like 10-year Gruden-type offer from the Miami Dolphins, who also then, and the assertion is then floated out there and not denied by one Tom Brady himself, we're trying to work some kind of deal where Brady would be their quarterback this year.
Look, and we're going to have him on tomorrow. Dave Hyde is going to join us tomorrow. Dave Hyde talked about this with us at the time. He talked about it more recently, the last time he was on with us. And it's been something that was floated, and no one from the Dolphins have denied it, that Ross, and that's why it blew up, because once Flores happened,
and Brian Flores made this implication that they had set this thing up with Brady, and was totally against the rules.
Yeah, you can't do any
tampering
of that.
in the NFL.
Yep, with the coach, because Peyton was already under sort of a gig, and Brady for sure already had a gig, and they had sort of met or sort of whispered about the package deal and them coming to Miami, and it was like, Okay. Like, what is going on?
And it seemed far-fetched. I mean, it seemed like something John Grisham would have to have dreamt up.
Seems like a book. Yep.
Some kind of bizarre plot, with a conspiracy theory attached to it. And it would have been interesting because that says, essentially, that if true, which, I'm inclined to believe there was some merit to this, or it wouldn't keep surfacing like it has. But, and again, the Dolphins in complete denial of any of this stuff. Which I don't know. Why would they deny an interest in Sean Payton if they had one? They might deny that they obviously they're going to have to offer him a ton of capital to do it. I'm not sure what the status of coaches that are under contract would be. I know you can't, mess with having Tom Brady entertain overtures, from the Miami Dolphins. But Brian Flores implied that was the case. He was being asked to partake in that, didn't want to, and that was another reason that his relationship with Stephen Ross and the upper-level brass soured. So apparently there might have been some truth to that. But what does that say if the Phins brass would rather have Tom Brady probably for 1 year than Tua Tagovailoa?
Well, that's my thing. Well, the Payton deal was supposedly 4 years, $100 million. Like, that's what I remember. It was supposedly $25 million a year. Yes, and he chose to tap out instead of taking 25.
Joe Buck? I mean, unbelievable.
It was that, and then that was my other thing. It's like, I know everyone's going to say Brady, even the people who hate him outside of the professor and me. Yeah, he's Brady, but how much longer is he going to do it? Like, don't you want to see what Tua is just in case?
Past this year, can you?
No, I don't know. Look,
he already retired once. I mean, next thing you know, he's going to be like Roberto Duran.
Exactly. He'll be Favre every other year. Every year is a retirement and come back from retirement.
Unbelievable.
All right, so the Miami Dolphins are trying to get into the Miami Heat area of the world. It's funny, growing up, the Miami Dolphins were the prominent franchise in South Florida. The Miami Hurricanes, after a ridiculous 80s and an strong early 90s when I was growing up, were right there with the Dolphins. And then the Heat were there, but no one really cared because, they were a late 80s expansion team and under Kevin Loggery made some playoff runs, but they never did much. And then Pat Riley came to town. And when Pat Riley came to town, everything changed. Not only the Knicks, Dave Checketts, the guy that wouldn't give Pat Riley power, was licking his wounds because the Knicks have yet to... I don't know. Have they won a playoff series since Riley left the Knicks? I don't know. They may have won a playoff. Well, I guess they went to the final. Sorry, the late 90s with Jeff Van Gundy, Latrell Sprewell, Allen Houston. The Knicks and Heat became a massive rivalry. And the Knicks were the Heat's nemesis that they couldn't get by. And one year when the Heat were finally a 1 seed and really looked like they were going to go all the way to the finals, the Knicks were an 8 seed, hurt all year, but finally getting healthy right around playoff time. Yeah, Ewing was hurt, but it changed the way they played ball, and the Heat couldn't hang. It was a 5-game thriller, first round, and one of the early, rare 8 seed upsetting a 1 seed. Allen Houston makes a big shot at the end, and the Heat go down to the Knicks. Knicks go to the finals. From that point on, late 90s to now, Miami Heat have been to 6 NBA finals. They also made another conference finals this year, so almost made a 7th, and that came down to the last shot, as we all know. So they almost made a 7th NBA finals appearance, and the Knicks haven't. They may have gotten out of the first round once, maybe, in the last 2 decades plus. So Pat Riley has changed everything down here, as we know. The Dolphins, Stephen Ross, has tried mightily to make them matter. The Panthers had a great regular season, failed. The Marlins have won a World Series in that time span, the last 2+ decades, but and one playoff appearance, but have disappointed time and time again. The Heat have become clearly, and we know what the Hurricanes are. Cristobal is trying to change things, but they have been not even mediocre. They've been pretty much bad with some signs of mediocre the last 2+ decades, or the last 2 decades for the Hurricanes. The Heat have been that franchise, and each and every year, they seem to, even years where they struggle or years we think they're going to struggle, they surprise us, and the offseason seems to be the funnest part. This year is no different. They were 1 shot away from making to the finals. By the end of the year, P.J. Tucker was done, and he's 37 years old. Kyle Lowry was done. He's in his mid-30s. You had Jimmy Butler, who is in his early 30s, but between his time with Chicago, Minnesota, Philly, and now the Heat, he's been hard hustle guy who's also talented. Literally played on a ridiculously bad knee, 45 minutes in game 6, 48 minutes, the entire game in game 7. In the Eastern Conference Finals. So he's a guy that has a lot of wear in his tires. So the Miami Heat, they do have youth, but they have a lot of age. And there's a lot of questions around this team. Again, most people think they're going to be a contender next year without doing anything. But with this franchise, Pat Riley loves the big move. Literally the dude that, with a lot of help from Dwayne Wade, and probably a lot more Dwayne Wade than it was Pat Riley, orchestrated one of the biggest coups ever in one offseason, keeping Dwayne Wade, who was a free agent in 2010, and he could have gone to Chicago a little earlier than he ended up going. Bring in Chris Bosh, who was a top 5 free agent, and to this date, probably the best free agency class ever. Was literally the class that changed things in the NBA. The NBA, the offseason was cool, but it wasn't what it has become from 2009 on. Because 2009, we were focused on the 2010 class. 2010 on, every year between LeBron, later Kevin Durant, later Kawhi Leonard, and then some smaller names that are still stars. Every offseason is almost as exciting as a regular season and the postseason when it comes to the NBA. So that started really then, and Pat Riley, with a lot of help from Dwayne Wade, orchestrated that. Again, keeping Dwayne Wade, going and getting Chris Bosh, and then in his prime, going and getting LeBron James to form the really first. I guess the Celtics had a big three. This was an even stronger because the Celtics' big three, they were all out of their prime. This is the first real big three of guys in their prime. You know, we've seen a lot of amalgamations since then. So the Miami Heat, each and every year, as we know, the offseason is, Defo makes fun of me regularly because I love the offseason. I get excited because the Heat are always close, are always interesting. Either one, or if they lose, we're close more times than not. So it's like, well, how do they tweak it? Well, guys just get better. Last offseason, that's what we saw. We saw Bam become more aggressive, become better in the regular season, averaging 19 and 10. We saw Tyler Hero becoming more aggressive from a sophomore slump, year 3, being just shy of percentage points, second in scoring, 6th man of the year. You know, so we saw that growth. We saw Strus, Vincent, year 7, and Caleb Martin, you know, all grow as they saw minutes last year, but took it to another level this year and became true rotation players where Vincent and Strus were starting in the Eastern Conference Finals, and Martin had his moments, and year 7 had his moments. They all grew from last year to this year. So the Heat, and they brought in Kyle Lowry, which was an upgrade and an improvement and a big move, but it was and they brought in PJ Tucker, and Morris was supposed to help, but it was mostly growing from the inside and then adding some pieces. This offseason, what is the move? Well, the rumors around Donovan Mitchell continue, and yesterday, pictures, I guess, Butler and Mitchell share a trainer. We also know Mitchell and Butler are really cool, and we know Mitchell and Bam Adebayo are really cool. Well, pictures were posted from all of them having them together. You have Butler and Mitchell with the trainer. You have Bam and Mitchell together. And there's very cryptic, either shirts, hats, things being said by all of them. Now, to me, Pat Riley said it nearing the end of his presser, and I think that's the move, is you want to grow from within with this club. However, if the right move presents itself, we know the Heat aren't going to bat an eye. And Mitchell's interesting because, look, Mitchell's a guy that a couple years ago set the world on fire. Like, his playoff numbers were insane. And he looked like sort of Dwayne Wade, you know, the next generation, where he was bigger, he was stronger, not as athletic, not as good a facilitator, not as good defensively, but a little bit better shooter from, you know, beyond the arc, because Wade never really shot the three-point ball, and Mitchell was okay. Not great, was okay. Well, since then, his numbers, he hasn't gotten better. He's sort of gotten worse. Now, we all know in this NBA, when guys are disgruntled, they don't just fight through. When guys are disgruntled, when guys aren't happy in their situation, they sort of take a dip. And that feels like, to me, what's happened to Mitchell. A lot of people say he jacks up bad shots. He doesn't care in defense. He doesn't get other guys involved. These all may be true of recently. But we've seen him do the opposite. We've seen him be a guy who was a star on the team that went pretty far in the playoffs. So if he did that before, why can't he do it again? And with the Jazz, yeah, Rudy Gobert is an interesting component. If it's the 1990s, you have the perimeter guy, you have the big. But he doesn't shoot. Not only doesn't shoot threes, he doesn't shoot anything. Like, he's an interior offensive guy, defensive-minded guy. So what do the Jazz have? Yeah, they brought in Kyle Conley, and they brought in interesting team pieces, but they don't have the talent the Heat have. So I would think Mitchell on this Heat roster would be insane. And a guy like Butler, with this culture, with Butler, with whoever was left, would take him to another level. Now, he hasn't asked out, and there's nothing official of any kind. But the fact that we keep seeing these cryptic, and these aren't like fans or media outlets. These are the players themselves on their own. And it wasn't like one thing, you know, for fun. I wonder, you know, or even LeBron on the shop talking about, well, I'd be really good with the Warriors. And yeah, you probably would. You chose to be on the Lakers and totally dismantle the roster because you're LeBron. So, yeah, you'd be good, but you also should know yourself by now that the minute you go there, you're going to ruin everything. So you're going to just change everything around. This isn't that. Like, this is Mitchell, who's very quiet. I've never seen him do any of this. I've never heard him talk, really. Himself and everyone involved posting this stuff. So what does it mean? He hasn't asked out yet, exactly. But we know he wasn't happy. We know there's something going on in Utah. Yeah, they got rid of the coach. You would think maybe to appease him. It's not like he had issues with the coach, but it's also not like he was giddy either. So I just say all this to say I'm excited for this offseason. Because, again, the offseason just started. The Heat just lost like a week ago. The NBA Finals are still going on. The draft hasn't happened yet. And the Heat are already firmly entrenched in rumors. To me, I don't think they need to go make a move. I think if Hero can take another step and actually care about defense. Look, the guy's gotten better offensively. Defense is effort. Like, when you just say guys suck on defense, they don't have to. Kevin Durant's improved his defense immensely. Giannis has improved his defense. You know, a lot of guys get better defensively. Defense is just effort. It's getting guys to give a damn on that side of the ball. In an era where defense doesn't matter as much, it's even harder. But Hero can improve defensively. Bam Adebayo is the opposite. He's great defensively. We've seen him show that he can score on offense. He's got to become more aggressive on offense. And Kyle Lowry's got to get in shape. PJ Tucker, same thing. Look, they're older dudes, but they're not done. They showed, well, Lowry not as much, but PJ Tucker definitely showed signs. And if you're Lowry, you would think he still has a little bit left where he can get in shape. So I think the Heat don't have to go make a big move, and they're right among the elite of the Eastern Conference. However, as we know, Pat Riley, if a move's out there to be had, he'll go for it. And now he'll go for it. Where unlike other teams, the Knicks go and get big names, and some of these other teams get big names, when the Heat have gone and got big names, it's worked. They find a way to make it work. Jimmy Butler didn't just come here for no reason. Jimmy Butler came here. They went to an NBA Finals that season. 2 years later, went to a conference finals, almost an NBA Finals. When they've gone and gotten the big name, they go and trade for Alonzo Mourning, Tim Hardaway. They become a force in the Eastern Conference. Go to conference finals, number one seeds, contend. And if not for Alonzo Mourning having a rare kidney issue, probably go to an NBA Finals. Okay? They go and get LeBron James, Chris Bosh. They go to 4 straight NBA Finals, win 2 titles. You know, they come back around, bring Jimmy Butler in, again, go to the NBA Finals, go conference finals. So if they go, the Heat have shown, if they go and get big names, that they will do something with it. And to get a Donovan Mitchell, you wait, that's also why you wait to really push the move, because, look, he's under contract for 3 more years. So you couldn't just get him. But also, once he asks out, his value goes down. Now he wants out. Now the team has to get rid of him. So you don't have to give up a slew of stuff. And that would be the hope, is to bring in a Mitchell who's under contract for 3 years. He got a second deal, so it's a big deal, but it's not an insane deal. And then you could pair him with Butler in the final stage of his career and put him with Bam and possibly Hero or possibly Lowry. Because you'd have to give up one of those two, but you shouldn't have to give up both. Like you throw in a Robinson, maybe you're at 7, a young guy, you throw in a draft pick, and either a Hero or a Lowry. So either way, you'd have 4 dudes that are all-star caliber players. And that would be the idea. You know, and to me, if you can't get a Mitchell, then Oladipo's interesting. Yes, Oladipo showed enough that he's going to get a massive deal because all these teams have money to be paid. But he's made it clear he wants to be here, and the Heat have sort of openly talked about him. So they'd like him here, and he showed a lot of signs. He was really good defensively and showed signs that the offense can be there. He just needs an offseason healthy to work on it. That's one I'd keep in the back pocket if you can't make a move for a Mitchell or a Beal or a Levine, Zach Levine, who a lot of fans supposedly want, which I don't know what to do with him. Then I would see what you can do with an Oladipo. See if you can, because they should have his bird rights. So see what you can work out with him, make it work. Because he's a guy that could be that 4th dude with Hero, Bam, and Butler. And then Lowry doesn't even have to be the 4th guy. So we'll see. Look, I've already said all this. And it's not even the offseason yet. The finals are going on. It's always interesting around the Miami Heat. We try to be interesting each and every day. Check us out in the mornings. You can Google The Defo Show with Lubie. Go to YouTube, The Defo Show with Lubie. Check us out every morning, 7 to 9. Also, check us out on our exclusive content podcast, more national. We do our hardcore South Florida sports here. National talk we do on the Believe Network, BLEAV.com. Search After Hours. And again, each and every day right here, The Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports with Lubie on the 5 reasons sports.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. You know, since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapists, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.